Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Soul Land 3 Legend of the Dragon King Part 15 based on novel. So let's start. As he watched Han Lan, Tang Wulin's expression grew serene. Having observed Han Lan's previous 2 battles, he had already come up with a plan for her. A white ring twinkled beneath Han Lan's feet before a spirit soul that looked like a lump of dirt appeared. She didn't hesitate at all as she held up both her palms in Tang Wulin's direction. In response, a yellow ring of earth appeared under Tang Wulin's feet. Stone pillars arose from the yellow ring in a flash, entrapping Tang Wulin inside a stone prison. If it had been Xie Xie in this situation, he would have likely rushed out of the stone prison's range as soon as Han Lan had raised her hands. However, Tang Wulin clearly didn't possess such speed, so he hadn't bothered moving at all. At the peak, the stone pillars curved inwards, completely sealing off all avenues of escape. Han Lan had won her previous 2 matches by controlling the earth in order to contain her opponents. Although her first soul skill was only a 10-year one, it was unusually powerful as it was able to directly restrain her opponents. However, it was still a 10-year soul skill and its restrictions were not small. For example, after using this soul skill, there was a cooldown period of 20 seconds before she could use it again. If this were a true battlefield, she would have likely only had 1 chance to use this skill. Wu Zhongkong began counting down the seconds that Tang Wulin was trapped. If he reached 10 seconds, then it would count as Tang Wulin's loss. Han Lan had won her first match with the same method. In the second match, however, she'd won even sooner. Her opponent had tried to rush out of the stone prison's range as soon as the match started, but the creation of the stone prison was simply too fast. Just as he had approached the outer range of the stone prison, he'd been directly sent soaring by the top of a stone pillar. If Wu Zhongkong hadn't caught him, he might have been crippled by the fall. Tang Wulin didn't want to challenge the prison at the risk of being thrown to such a height, so he decided to remain stationary and let it entrap him. 10. Wu Zhongkong began to expressionlessly count down the seconds. After the first match had ended, Wu Zhongkong had said that being trapped by a control system battle soul master for more than 10 seconds was no different than death. Thus, he gave them a 10-second time limit. If he was able to break out of Han Lan's trap within 10 seconds, then it would count as Han Lan's loss. If he wasn't able to break out, then Han Lan would win. It was just this simple and rough. Tang Wulin wasn't the least bit anxious as he unhurriedly raised his arms. 2 grey lights flashed, then a pair of forging hammers appeared in his hands. 9. Bang! He swung the 1,000 refined tungsten hammers in his hands and brazenly smashed the 2 stone pillars in front of him. Dust flew out as the stone pillars were smashed to pieces. The count of 8 didn't even leave Wu Zhongkong's lips as Tang Wulin lifted his hammers out from the rubble. The whole class simply stared at him and they couldn't help but suck in a breath of air. Even Xie Xie, whom had battled with Tang Wulin before, didn't expect Tang Wulin to use such a method to break out of the stone prison. The eyes of Wu Zhongkong shone as he revealed an unusual expression. He nodded. Tang Wulin is the victor. With his eyesight, he had been able to clearly examine the 2 hammers in Tang Wulin's hands. The hammers hadn't been reinforced by any soul power at all, thus indicating that they weren't soul tools. Even if they had been soul tools, what level of efficacy could Tang Wulin even reach with his current soul power? This brat's strength is truly prodigal. Xie Xie's eyes widened in shock. This guy was actually holding back when he fought me. In reality, Tang Wulin hadn't held back at all. He simply hadn't thought of using his forging hammers to do battle before. He had only taken out his 1,000 refined tungsten hammers today due to his need for destructive power. He hadn't thought that a single attack of his would have such remarkable results. Wu Zhongkong turned towards Xie Xie. Xie Xie, it's your turn. Xie Xie leapt onto the stage. He was feeling a bit gloomy at the moment as he recalled the amount of food that Tang Wulin had eaten this morning. If he'd known earlier that he would face him in class today, then he wouldn't have bothered to treat Tang Wulin to a meal. Hammers in hand, Tang Wulin changed his stance to face Xie Xie. He wasn't confident in his victory at all. Although he had won the last time, it was simply due to a miracle. But now, with these hammers in hand, he suddenly felt wonderful. It seemed that these 1,000 refined tungsten hammers had already integrated with his body. When he held them, his confidence surged. Right as Xie was mulling over his thoughts of how to deal with Tang Wulin, a cold voice suddenly cut in from the side. The fourth round, second match. Xie versus Wu Zhongkong. What? Xie nearly lost his voice as he cried out in alarm. He turned to look at the icily arrogant Prince Charming. Wu Zhongkong coldly glanced at him. Did you really think that an unfair situation would occur in my class? You will receive one of my attacks. Then you will face Tang Wulin. Xie stared at him, dumbstruck. Teacher Wu, are you playing a joke on me? You're a teacher. Wu Zhongkong had already strolled over to Tang Wulin's side. With a simple wave of his hand, Tang Wulin was carried over to the sidelines, hammer still in hand. Wu Zhongkong patted his waist with his right hand, undoing his belt. Teacher, what are you doing? Xie vigilantly retreated 2 steps back. However, he soon discovered that Wu Zhongkong's pants were very form-fitting. Even after untying his belt, his pants hadn't budged at all. Wu Zhongkong shook his wrist, causing the belt to become completely taut and perfectly straight. With an indifferent voice, he said, I won't release my martial soul. You only need to receive one of my attacks. As he spoke, Wu Zhongkong took a step forward with his left foot as his belt sword had already thrust towards Xie. Xie's combat experience could be considered the richest amongst his classmates. The moment he released his martial soul, he retreated like lightning. What a joke! Was Wu Zhongkong powerless only because he didn't release his martial soul? With the support of just his soul power, there was no difference between his belt and a sharp sword. Running away was Xie's best option at that moment. Xie was extremely confident in his speed. As he retreated, he held his light dragon dagger in front of himself protectively. However, a horrifying scene happened before his eyes. Although he was rapidly retreating, Wu Zhongkong's belt sword stayed in front of him from beginning to end. This attack seemed to be a simple thrust, but no matter what Xie did, he was unable to dodge it. Bang! Ayo! The belt softened just a moment before it pierced into Xie's shoulder. However, it simply smacked Xie's shoulder and sent him flying. After rolling over the floor twice, Xie was finally able to get up. He clutched his shoulder and grimaced in pain. Xie's forehead dripped with sweat. The most terrifying thing was that in the moment before Wu Zhongkong struck him, Xie actually felt as if his life were about to end. This kind of powerful and oppressive strength would cause anyone's spirit to tense up. After he was sent flying, Xie was able to loosen up a bit, but he was still left with this appearance. Too scary. In the end, how deep is Teacher Wu's strength? You have 1 minute to rest. After that, the finals will begin. Wu Zhongkong shook his wrist once again, wrapping the belt around his waist before walking off to the side. After seeing that one strike from Wu Zhongkong, the students dared not break the silence out of fear. Their lineup was even more orderly now. In front of this teacher of theirs, they all felt as if they were under great pressure. Tang Wulin blinked a few times. Just a moment ago he had been seriously watching the match. When Wu Zhongkong's sword thrust forth, Xie had begun to dodge, yet his futile attempts only resembled a prey caught in a spider's web to Tang Wulin. No matter how much Xie struggled, it would have been impossible to escape from this large web. It was done with such a simple sword, but had neither the aid of a martial soul or a soul skill. Yet, Wu Zhongkong easily suppressed Xie. What kind of cultivation was needed for this? Teacher truly is too formidable. Tang Wulin began to revere the so-titled icily arrogant Prince Charming in his heart. Even as he revered Wu Zhongkong on the inside, he also stealthily returned the soul camera to his heavy silver rings. Senior sister Liu Yuxin had requested a favor from him. Even though it was his first time doing such a thing, he was still prepared. Xie wiped away his sweat as he stood there with a pensive look. He was pondering over the oppression he'd just faced from Wu Zhongkong moments ago. Wu Zhongkong had an attack blindly with his sword. In front of this kind of pressure, Xie had felt as if he were trapped. He felt that he was about even with Tang Wulin, but when he was in front of Wu Zhangkong's sword, he felt as if any decision he made would only result in his death. There was no chance of escape at all. In this kind of situation, even if he had wanted to rush out, how was he supposed to do so? 1 minute has passed. Get ready. Xie raised his head and rested his gaze upon Tang Wulin, who had his hammers in hand. In return, Tang Wulin stared at him as well. Looking back, this was their third battle. Xie had lost in the previous 2 battles, and now held a slight fear towards Tang Wulin. He still clearly remembered that golden light. This time, however, he would be on guard against it. Begin. Wu Zhongkong announced the start of the match, thus raising the curtains for the final showdown within Class 5. Xie released his martial soul and his light dragon dagger twinkled in his hand. However, he didn't impatiently rush towards Tang Wulin and, instead, began circling around him. Tang Wulin had also released his blue-silver grass the moment the match began and had weaved blue-silver grass in a manner similar to the style of his first match against Li Chushui. The blades of grass weaved into a large net, just waiting for someone to walk into its trap. Xie's heart stirred. Wasn't Wu Zhangkong's sword pressure simply a formless net? Was teacher giving me guidance on how to break through Tang Wulin's net? But teacher, you don't know how tough this guy's blue-silver grass is. It's basically impossible to break through. The very first time they had fought, Xie had underestimated the resilience of Tang Wulin's blue-silver grass. This mistake had allowed Tang Wulin to send him flying. This guy isn't even using his fists anymore, but hammers. If he smashed my face with those. When Xie saw the 2 shiny black hammers in Tang Wulin's hands, he immediately got a bad feeling. Tang Wulin was neither in a hurry, nor impatient to start. He just calmly waited for Xie to attack while constantly moving the net in his direction. In reality, Tang Wulin knew in his heart that Xie and Li Chushui were as different as black and white. With Xie's soul power level, the one whose stamina would be depleted first would likely be Tang Wulin. Even faced with such circumstances, Tang Wulin wasn't anxious at all. He just waited for Xie to attack so that his golden scales could appear again. Xie continued circling around Tang Wulin thrice before pouncing forward like lightning. Tang Wulin's blue-silver grass spread out in a flash, sealing off Xie's attack route. He waved his light dragon dagger, its tip striking towards Tang Wulin. Pu! The blade tip descended on the blue-silver grass, and, in flash, a ring of light dissipated, causing the blue-silver grass to undulate with blue ripples. Although the interwoven blue-silver grass had easily dispelled the attack, Tang Wulin's soul power had also dropped a bit. Wu Zhangkong's eyebrows raised in surprise. Xie's attack was meant to let their teacher see that Tang Wulin's blue-silver grass wasn't ordinary at all. After committing to an attack with no results, Xie rapidly retreated, once again distancing himself from Tang Wulin. Tang Wulin didn't control his blue-silver grass to chase after Xie since his movements were simply too fast. Moreover, Xie's dodging ability was astonishing. If Tang Wulin showed an opening, Xie would be in front of him in a flash. Xie was extraordinarily patient this time as he continuously circled Tang Wulin, searching for an opening. With soul power at rank 18, he had more than enough time. Occasionally, he would attack Tang Wulin, but immediately draw back afterwards. Xie gradually began to reveal a smile. This was because he'd realized that Tang Wulin's soul power was only at rank 11. Although his blue-silver grass was marvelous, the gap between their soul power was simply tremendous. As long as Xie exhausted Tang Wulin's soul power, it would be his win. What else could possibly stop him? The match between the two was taking longer than all of the previous matches. However, Wu Zhongkong wasn't anxious at all. His arms were folded in front of him as he silently watched the match go on. Tang Wulin's soul power was finally approaching the point of exhaustion, which left him with no choice but to withdraw his blue-silver grass. During the split second he'd begun withdrawing his blue-silver grass, Xie's body flickered. Immediately, he appeared at Tang Wulin's side with his light dragon dagger in hand. In the face of Xie's speed, it was practically impossible for Tang Wulin to dodge. However, ding! A brittle note echoed out and sparks flew everywhere. Tang Wulin and Xie Xie's weapons were interlocked in a showdown. Xie Xie's light dragon dagger had missed Tang Wulin's body. Tang Wulin's eyes narrowed. It was as if he had entered some sort of special state. The 1,000 refined tungsten hammer in his right hand was held behind him, obstructing Xie Xie's attack. In disbelief, Xie Xie spun to the other side, slashing out once again. Dang! The same thing happened as before. Tang Wulin's other hammer accurately blocked Xie Xie's second attack. How could this be? How could he be so quick? Xie Xie's eyes were full of disbelief. Could it be? This guy was disguising himself as a pig to eat a tiger. I've actually lost to him twice when he was acting as a pig. Yes? How fast? While he faced off against Xie Xie, Tang Wulin was continuously thinking of ways he could counter Xie Xie's speed. His opponent was an agility system battle soul master, while he could be considered both a control system battle soul master and a power system battle soul master. He would lose out to his opponent's speed either way. If this continued on, he would definitely lose. He also couldn't rely on his golden scales to appear miraculously. While he had been pondering over this dilemma, he finally had a brilliant idea. His body's speed couldn't possibly compare with his opponent. However, there was still one area that he was exceptionally fast in. That was forging. In the 3 years he had spent forging, he had grown so familiar with hammers that they were like an extension of his body. Especially when his strength exploded out, that familiar sensation was even more intense. If he used the heavy 1,000 refined heavy silver hammers, he wouldn't be able to dominate with speed. However, with his lighter 1,000 refined tungsten hammers, he would be able to make these hammers fly. It would be like the test he took at the Blacksmiths Association. He would dazzle Xie Xie with his ability of wielding his tungsten hammers. He would treat Xie Xie like a lump of metal. That was right, this was precisely what Tang Wulin did. In Tang Wulin's mind, Xie Xie was no longer a person, but a piece of metal that he was currently forging. His mind gradually entered the forging phase where one emptied out their thoughts and cleared their mind. Xie Xie's previously dizzying actions seemingly slowed down and became clearer. It was in this situation that the pair of 1,000 refined tungsten hammers were waved around, hammering twice each time to shield off Xie Xie's attacks. Though Xie Xie hadn't started his third move, he felt a gush of vile wind blowing in his direction. Tang Wulin struck his hammer towards Xie Xie. From the ear-splitting sound it produced upon moving through the air, one could easily judge the heaviness of a single strike. Xie Xie hastily dodged. However, Tang Wulin unfolded his hammers and started hammering down. His strikes, worthy of being called a ferocious thunderstorm, were aimed towards Xie Xie. The hammers produced a woo-woo sound as they struck down, causing dust to rise from the ground. The repeated strikes left Xie Xie cowering in retreat. Xie Xie didn't dare use his light dragon dagger against Tang Wulin's attacks. He was an agility system battle soul master. He knew that even though his opponent was just using pure power, he wasn't confident he could muster the strength to match it. If one compared both their strengths, the difference was simply too great. With a flash of his body, Xie Xie quickly retreated and distanced himself from Tang Wulin. Tang Wulin didn't give chase. He knew that his speed was of no match to Xie Xie's. Involuntarily, he halted his hammering, but his gaze remained glued to Xie Xie and his every action. This bastard! Xie Xie cursed in his heart. His gaze sharpened. Xie Xie's expression turned solemn as he caught his breath. The light dragon dagger in his right hand waved slightly. At the same time, he raised his left hand. His entire person suddenly became more vigorous and powerful. He pressed lightly against the ground with the tips of his toes and pushed out, shooting into the air. As he shot up into the air quickly, faint afterimages of himself trailed behind him. He unleashed a speed that had increased by at least 30% more than before. Pelted by the wind Xie Xie produced, Tang Wulin raised both his hammers. With his body in the air, Xie Xie gave Tang Wulin's 1,000 refined tungsten hammers a light tap using the light dragon dagger in his right hand. As he turned, Xie Xie's energy was recharged. Simply by borrowing some from Tang Wulin in that little move, he was able to direct his left hand towards Tang Wulin. Pu. Tang Wulin's back was marred with yet another scar. The stabbing pain brought Tang Wulin back to his senses and he staggered a little, feeling the burning pain in his back. Despite that burning pain, a wave of heat flowed into his body from his spine. Tang Wulin's shock was eradicated by his joy. Other golden scales appearing, so it was true that the golden scales will only appear under the circumstances of being attacked. However, when he tried stabilizing himself again, the sudden heat wave he felt a moment ago disappeared. It didn't rise through his body like it did during his previous experience, when it transformed into a huge volume of strength, along with the appearance of golden scales. Stop! Wu Zhongkong suddenly appeared between the both of them and halted the match. Xie wins. Xie sighed in relief, a strand of glee appearing in his eyes. He finally won. He had finally won for the first time and tears were flowing down his cheeks. But Xie was curious as to why Tang Wulin's golden scales didn't appear. Could it be that he was still concealing them from others? Or that he was speaking the truth and didn't know how to control those golden scales? Wu Zhongkong spoke to Xie, "You will be in charge of getting Tang Wulin a new uniform set." Eh? Didn't I win the match? Shouldn't I be rewarded? Xie felt his surroundings darken with despair. How is this Tang Wulin guy always finding ways to cost me money? How? Wu Zhongkong turned and faced the class. He spoke coolly, "The competition has ended and all of you have witnessed it. What are your feelings? Rotten wood cannot be carved." This icily arrogant Prince Charming answered his own question. "It is no wonder why all of you have been sorted into Class 5, you are all a bunch of trash. However, even if you are all merely scrap iron, I will take pride in tempering all of you. As all of you would have seen from the previous match. What is Tang Wulin's martial soul? It is the widely recognized trash martial soul, blue silver grass. However, Tang Wulin has successfully made it all the way to the finals, and even almost won the final match. I was the winner, right?" Xie grieved silently. Why did it sound as if he lost the match? Wu Zhongkong ignored him and continued. He relied not only on his martial soul, but his body strength as well. Some say that physical power is useful in your current stage, but would be useless when everyone has upgraded their ranks and accumulated many soul skills. However, let me mention this, you are in no position to even think about accumulating many soul skills. You should first ask yourself, how many of you are able to reach the stage where you are able to possess a second soul skill? How many more can possess a greater number of soul skills? As you are in charge of your body, would you not think that having a strong physique is useful? Soul power is no longer the only criteria used to assess an individual's potential in becoming a mecha master. Possessing a powerful enough energy storage soul tool would allow ordinary people to become a mecha master as well. However, a strong physique is the foundation of all mecha masters. Without a good body, you will not be able to withstand the strong impacts that exist within a mecha, never mind the high-intensity combat. Therefore, those with a weak martial soul should start your physical fitness training with me tomorrow. Physical training in the morning, then theory and knowledge class in the afternoon. This morning's class will end here. With regards to the competition earlier this morning, I want all of you to think about it. I will be teaching meditation for this afternoon's theory and knowledge class. Class dismissed. This speech was one of the longest speeches the icily arrogant Prince Charming had given during his capacity as their teacher, yet it didn't feel like a lecture. Rather, it was a mere statement of facts. Regardless of whether he was calling them trash or announcing the initiation of special training, his tone remained confident. Xie, Tang Wulin, follow me. Shortly after he finished that last sentence, Wu Zhongkong headed for the academic building. Is he giving me a reward? A flash of jubilance appeared in Xie's eyes. Prior to his arrival to the school, he had heard of rewards being given out after matches within school grounds. These rewards weren't too bad. He was, after all, the champion of Class 5. What would the reward be for a teacher as powerful as Wu Zhongkong? He started to imagine it. Wu Zhongkong brought both students into his office. This office of his was pathetic in size, a mere 10 square meters. The room was bare except for a desk, a cupboard, and a chair. The trash I referred to in my speech included both of you as well. The icily arrogant Prince Charming's first sentence killed all the good feeling within Xie's heart. Shouldn't there be rewards? If not, just a little encouragement? Wu Zhongkong looked towards Tang Wulin. Your performance in the matches was fine. However, you didn't give your all in the matches. That must be a variant blue-silver grass. Its tenacity looked extraordinary, but your soul power seemed weak and couldn't last for a long period of time. In this situation, you won't stand a chance if your opponent's soul power is higher than yours. What's with your hammers? Tang Wulin spoke with reluctance. I've learned forging before. Wu Zhongkong raised an eyebrow. Forging? You're a soul master, but you learned how to forge? The clumsy bird flies early into the forest. You're a clumsy bird, yet you actually wasted your time on such a pointless thing. Tang Wulin lowered his head and said, but everyone told me that my martial soul is trash. And my spirit soul isn't that good either. Wu Zhongkong interrupted, so you decided to become a blacksmith? What a farce! Remember this, you are my student. Unless I deem you to be useless, you must put all of your efforts into developing as a soul master. Off to the side, Xie's mouth unexpectedly began to twitch. Didn't you just say I was useless? At this moment, he could sympathize with Tang Wulin. Of course, he was only able to do so because he had won. Oh. Tang Wulin agreed. However, there was no way he would actually give up forging. He couldn't possibly renounce forging after all he had achieved. As for his martial soul, he only felt defeated when he cultivated. Wu Zhongkong turned and looked at Xie. What are you laughing for? You think you're better than him? Is it really that fun to hide your twin martial souls? You have rank 18 soul power and are gifted with twin martial souls. Just because you were born with a higher level of soul power, you think you can be proud of yourself? Xie raised his head, staring at Wu Zhongkong in astonishment. How does he know all this? Wu Zhongkong coldly said, you've still got a long ways to go. Even twin soul holders can be rubbish people. As an agility system battle soul master, what glory is there in being forced to use your twin souls by a soul master with blue-silver grass? Xie's face turned red with embarrassment, speechless. Teacher, what are twin martial souls? Tang Wulin curiously asked. Wu Zhongkong's eyebrows wrinkled into a frown. How incompetent was your elementary academy teacher? They didn't even teach you about twin martial souls? Twin martial souls means that you have two martial souls. The benefit of having two martial souls is obvious. People born with twin martial souls usually have innate rank 10 soul power. It's much easier for them to cultivate and they are able to acquire more soul rings in the future. It's just that in this age of spirit souls, they are restricted by their spiritual power, which means their advantage isn't that big anymore. There isn't anyone who possesses the spiritual power necessary to sustain 18 soul rings worth of spirit souls. Perhaps it would be possible if one possessed a spiritual type martial soul like the Spirit Pagoda's founder, but each spirit soul would need to be extremely powerful in order to bestow a total of 18 soul rings. Tang Wulin looked towards Xie. They were both people, but why was life so unfair? He had a trash martial soul, yet Xie had twin martial souls. The disparity was simply enormous. Wu Zhongkong suddenly asked Tang Wulin, do you think his martial soul is good? Tang Wulin stared back at him. Was there really a need to say it out loud? Wu Zhongkong lips curled. It isn't necessarily better than yours. His martial soul is a dagger, and his second martial soul should also be a dagger. But it's just a concealed dagger, that's all. The attack range of a dagger is very short. In this modern era of mecha conflicts, what do you think of it now? An agility system battle soul master gains the most restrictions when they become a mecha master. Xie's eyes widened in shock as he started at Wu Zhongkong. Could it be that Tang Wulin is actually his long-lost son? Why else would he belittle me in order to boost Tang Wulin's confidence? This is simply too biased. However, Wu Zhongkong didn't even spare him a glance. All right then. Down to business. Xie's spirits were roused. Is he finally giving out rewards? Every new academic year, the Academy has a grand tournament. There's one for both the Intermediate Division and the Advanced Division. Our Intermediate Division has a total of 6 grades, and all of them will be participating. This tournament is known as the Class Promotion Tournament. Class Promotion Tournament? Tang Wulin's eyes were full of doubt. Wu Zhongkong continued, the weakest class starts first and each class picks the students that participates. Class 5 will challenge Class 4, and so on. If the challenger is victorious, then the class numbers will be switched. In other words, if we beat Class 4, we won't be the lowest ranked Class 5 anymore, but the first grade's Class 4. The class rankings depend on the victor of the challenge. If challengers are victorious, they can continue to challenge higher-ranked classes until they lose. For all 6 grades, the most victorious will become their grade's Class 1. If they then proceed to challenge the next grade and win, they will be rewarded. Xie said, our class is the first challenger. For all 6 grades, there were 5 classes and Class 5 was always the worst. In other words, they were currently in the worst class of them all. Correct. Wu Zhongkong nodded. This can be considered a battle of glory for the classes. And if the challengers are able to skip grades, the rewards will be very generous. Xie proudly said, that's no problem, Teacher Wu. Just leave it to me. I'll fight them all and go all the way to challenge the 6th grade. Wu Zhongkong coldly snorted. The minimum number of participants is a pair. Do you actually think that having twin martial souls makes you peerless? Do you know what kind of people are selected to represent Class 1? There is no lack of geniuses in this world. Although many geniuses lose their way, within the Intermediate Division, your gifts can only be considered average. Xie had zoned out and hadn't heard Wu Zhongkong's last few words. He only paid attention to Wu Zhongkong's first sentence and turned to Tang Wulin in shock. Teacher, you're saying that I'll be competing in the tournament with him? Wu Zhongkong leaned back in his chair, suddenly exuding an air of magnanimity. If you have any better options, then go ahead. Xie wanted to say I don't want to be with him, but after recalling the horrible display of abilities by his other classmates, he wasn't able to speak. No matter what was said, this guy in front of him had already beaten him twice. Moreover, he also had the power of those mysterious golden scales. Wu Zhongkong said, the tournament should begin in a month. Thus, from tomorrow onwards, outside of regular classes, I will have you 2 undergo special training every night. I'll formulate a simple schedule for you 2, so you better turn our class into the first grade's Class 1. Tang Wulin couldn't help but ask, what if we are unable to do that? He. Wu Zhongkong laughed. He was originally very handsome, but when he laughed, Tang Wulin and Xie couldn't keep their eyes off of him and could only stare blankly. Moreover, while they were stunned, the 2 of them felt a coldness rise up from their tailbones, penetrating them deeply. After leaving Wu Zhongkong's office, Tang Wulin's brows gradually relaxed. A smile even appeared on his face. Although it was because the other students hadn't put in enough effort, he'd still been chosen to represent their class in this tournament. This could be considered an honor for a Soul Master. Has he finally taken his first step into the world of Soul Masters? Apart from Teacher Mang Tian, Teacher Wu had also said he held promise. Hey! Xie coldly called out to him. Tang Wulin turned around to face him. What is it? I'll fight you again once we get back. I'll also pay you back for the food. Xie stared at him blankly for a moment. Doesn't this guy really love money? How surprising. I don't want to talk about that. I wanted to tell you to not drag me down during the tournament in a month, Xie proudly said. Tang Wulin gently sighed. Does your face still hurt? This video will end here.